Welcome back, ballers. This is Chesticles, and I am Jacqueline. I call this Chesticles because I have brass balls. And I'm telling my story, funny, sad, all kinds of different stuff, but mostly funny. What I am is an annoying person. I love this story. So I'm sitting with my niece coloring. And she was about 3, maybe just 3, but smart as a whip. And we're sitting there coloring, and I said, "Baby, you know what? You're my best friend." And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, am I your best friend?" And she said, "No." And I said, "What do you mean? I'm sitting here, we're coloring, we're having fun. If I'm not your best friend, what am I?" And she's still coloring away, looking down at her beautiful picture, and she sighed and she said, "What you are is an annoying person." God, I love this kid. Oh. Well, she's not a kid anymore. She's got a kid that's almost the same age, but oh my gosh, it was so funny. So I said, "Oh, I am really." So she said, "Yeah," and I'm thinking, well, she doesn't know what annoying means. Like, me annoying? No, surely not. But I said, "Well, what does annoying mean, honey?" And she said, "Well, annoying is when you ride your bike and you fall and you scrape your knees. It's really annoying. So what you are is an annoying person." Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard. And she's the same niece who I was going out one night and I was all, decked out, going to the club, whatever I was doing. And I was at her house, at my sister's house, getting ready. And she came into the room when I was getting ready, and I had just finished my hair, and I'm looking in the mirror. And she looks at me and she said, "Aunt Jacqueline, your hair is really messy." Oh, out of the mouths of babes. And then, that was years ago, but like I said, she's older now, but my great niece, she's so cute too. She came up to me and she said, "Do you have mascara on?" Because she's a little girl. She's 4, And I said, "Yes, I do." And she just kind of scrunched her nose up like I farted. Like she had that, like somebody farted, on her, somebody farted, look on her face. And she goes, "You need to wash your face." Because it was Christmas Eve, and it had, been towards the end of the night, and my mascara was running, down. Because we laugh so much, so my eyes squinch up, so I always, if I have makeup on, it's usually down around my eyes. I thought that was so cute. "Do you have mascara on? You need to wash your face." Oh my gosh, she's so cute. And both these kids, they were not being mean. This is what they are stating facts. This is a fact. And I did have mascara running, and I am annoying. So they were both right. And I guess, my hair was a little bit extra puffy and scrunchy, so I can see where she would think it was a mess. Hello, ballers. How are you? Welcome back. Glad you're here. Oversharing. Gosh, I'm so guilty of oversharing. I think it's because I have a big mouth. That would be probably the real reason I'm an oversharer. But I also think there's a part of me, and tell me what you think. I don't know. I think if I don't share what's happening, I feel like I'm lying. Does that make sense? I feel like if I don't tell you the real thing that's happening and going on, I feel like I'm lying, like I'm holding back, like lying by omission kind of thought, you know what I mean? So if I don't tell you, well, then I'm lying. And that's not being truthful, and that's not being true to myself, and it's not being true to you. I don't know if that's even true, but but I'm just explaining how my mind works. You know, my multifaceted mind. Yeah, they tried to tell me I was bipolar once. I'm like, how dare you say I only have 2 personalities? There's multiple personalities in Jacqueline, let me tell you that. Eesh. Good, the bad, and the ugly. But I do overshare, and sometimes I don't realize when I overshare how that lands on somebody. You know, I'll just blurt out something that was a horrific thing that may have happened to me, and I feel like I need to tell somebody because that would, you know, be part of me, and I want to be an honest person, and I want to, you know, but then I don't realize how that affects them, and I have to work on that because, you know, I don't need to make other people uncomfortable. But I suppose at this stage of my life, the people that are uncomfortable with my oversharing either avoid me or need to go when we're on the phone or need to get up and leave. I don't know. People around me right now are so wonderful, and they put me in my place. They tell me how it is, and they support me, and I'm very grateful for that. But I overshare. Oh my God, I do. I just tell everything. Now, not secrets. Like if someone tells me a secret, oh, I'm going to my grave with that thing. I have lots of secrets about lots of people that I wouldn't even dream of ever speaking. And so it's not that I overshare about others as much as I overshare about myself. Like, you know, and because I have such a multitude of personalities, you know, sometimes things just roll right off my back and I'm like, no way, not happening. And then other times I'm like, and so then I broke a nail, and it was my good nail. It was my favorite nail. It was my favorite nail. Come on. I know, I'm dramatic. I am. I'm dramatic. It's just, you know, part of the fun. Part of the fun, right? I just have to be careful with the oversharing, but I do want to, you know, tell people, you know, what's going on, because I don't know. And I guess too, a lot of times people have said to me, you never told me that. And then I feel guilty. I'm not saying I should or that they're angry, but like if somebody ever says to me, you never told me that, I'm like, oh no, I've disappointed, I've lied, you know, I don't know, all kinds of weird things go through my head. A lot going on up there, lots of tabs open. I have a lot of tabs open. But a good example of this is, I mean, one week, I'm losing my mind because I am at the grocery store, my kids are little, and I'm in line, and I forgot something. And you know how, you know, those people that forgot something, like, do you mind if I just run back and get milk? Well, it was one of those days, and I was already frazzled. There was like, you know, some stuff was going on, you know, whatever. And so I ran back, and then the milk I wanted wasn't there, or, you know, what? It was just, and it took a little longer. I mean, it wasn't like the line was held up and the cashier's sitting there, you know, staring me down. But when I finally got back, I just made it in time. And, you know, I said to the person behind me, I'm like, thank you so much. She goes, well, I think that's really rude. I mean, we've been waiting here, and oh my gosh, she just like, she came for me, and I was so shocked, and I was so like taken aback that I left the grocery store and I sat in my car and I cried for like 15 minutes. I don't know if I told you yet, but I am a crier. Oh boy, I'm a crier. I don't know why. Sometimes it's tears of joy. Sometimes it's tears of, you know, pain, loss, I don't know, but I do cry. And I used to be ashamed that I was a crier, because it was, oh, you're a crybaby. You're just crying to get attention. But that's really not true. Somebody once said to me, well, do you cry when you're alone? And I said, most of the time I cry when I'm alone. Well, then you're not crying for attention, are you? Boom. Oh my God, talk about a light bulb moment. But I sat in my car and I cried, like, that lady was just so mean to me. Like, I don't understand. Like, I just forgot my milk, and I just went to go and then she was like shouting at me, and she's angry at it. Oh my God. I mean, I think back now, I realize how ridiculous I sound. In case you're ever wondering when I'm telling you my stories, I'm aware I'm ridiculous. I'm absolutely ridiculous. I get that, but I am who I am. But the reason I tell that story is because the very next week, I'm grocery shopping, and I just happened to bump into a neighbor, and so we were talking for a few minutes, and I'm, taking cupcakes to my son's preschool because it was his birthday, and so I was, wanted to get the cupcakes over there in time for their little lunch and that they were going to have. And I had my baby daughter with me, who was probably, I don't know, two and a half at the time, and she's in the car. But I happened to stop and talk to this neighbor, and that neighbor saved my life, because as I'm walking the cart back with the cupcakes and my baby girl, I noticed that my car was in the middle of the parking lot, like not in the space that I parked it in. And because I am so ridiculous, I literally thought, oh my gosh, am I losing my mind? Did I literally just park right in the middle of the... Can you imagine? But I see my own car, and it's literally in the center, like between the aisles. And as I thought, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. What's wrong with me? They're going to take my license away. Well, as I got closer, what I realized was there was an elderly woman and her husband who were in the car across from me, and she accidentally hit the gas instead of the brakes, so she crunched up my car and pushed it out. And it happened as I was walking to my car, and I think to myself, if I didn't bump into that neighbor and talk to that neighbor, I mean, just for that 5 minutes, I would have, what I typically would do is I would keep my daughter in the cart, put the groceries in the trunk, and then I would take my daughter and the cart to the cart stall. I always put my cart back. I don't like when people don't put their cart back. That annoys me. Put your cart back. But anyway, and then I would hold my daughter, pick up my daughter, go back to my car and get in. So the timing of me bumping into that neighbor and having a quick chat, I would have been behind my car when that woman accidentally hit the gas instead of the brake and pushed out. So I don't know that we would be here if I didn't bump into that neighbor. And I've always told him, you saved my life. Well, the point of this story is that the week before, I'm crying because the lady's yelling at me because I got out of line. And this day, I just was as calm as a cucumber. And I'm worried about the lady. I didn't care about my car. I go over, and she just was like, oh my God, is the baby okay? She was so upset and so shaken, and her husband was shaken, and they both had like bloody knees. Like they were okay and everything, but they were so emotional because they felt guilt. And I'm like, no, don't you worry, the baby's fine. Look, she's right here. And I'm like holding her, and I'm so sorry, I don't know what happened. And she was so upset, and I'm calming her down, and I'm like, don't you worry, it's a car. And I've always said this, what's more important, things or people? I mean, really, I get you love your car, but some people just, my gosh, like this woman is having I was worried she was going to have a heart attack. She was so upset. And I understood why she was upset, because I would have been if I were her. But thank God it wasn't in the cards for us that day to get hit by my car. But don't think I don't realize how lucky I was. Whew, man, I mean, really. But anyway, we of course, called, I wanted to call an ambulance. And I felt so bad too, because actually she backed up. So she was backing up. That's right, because her trunk was completely smushed in. So she backed up, hit my car, pushed my car out into the center of the, the grocery store parking lot. And I remember thinking of her groceries, like, how are they ever going to get out of there? Like, they're just smushed in there. I mean, it was really bad. And I can laugh now because everybody was okay. But, yeah, that was the very next, and I didn't cry once. It didn't, all I thought was this poor lady, and she felt so bad, and it was just, one of those things. And neither of the cars were drivable. So we did, have it taken care of, and the insurance paid for it, and it all went well. And she she found my address on, I guess, the police report that, whatever. And she sent me a card apologizing. Oh, who does that? This poor lady got confused. She hit the gas instead of the brake in reverse. Thank God I was not putting my groceries in my trunk, because really, think about that. If her trunk was so crunched up that it wasn't opening, I think that car might have been totaled. And I was putting my groceries in my trunk, holding, my daughter in the cart. My daughter was in the cart. You get it. You get it. You understand. It could have been catastrophic, but it wasn't. And so I was so calm. And this is 1 week apart. I don't know if everybody does this or if it's just me, but I have such fluctuation of, how come last Friday I'm crying over some lady yelling at me because I left the line to go get milk? And for 15 minutes. I mean, it wasn't just like a lump in my throat. This was a full-on ball. I mean, I was in my car crying my eyeballs out that this lady yelled at me. And yet the very next week, 1 week later, someone almost kills me and my daughter, and I'm calm as a cucumber. And I don't know. And I think that's just, I'm glad I was calm for her, because she really needed to be calmed down, So I guess maybe I just have the little things get me, but the big things don't sometimes. I don't know. I don't really know the answer to the story, but she was fine. But she sent me a thank you card. There are good people. Oh, there are good people in this world. I know that for sure. I've witnessed it and I've seen it. I know there's a lot of bad, but I focused on the good. But yeah, that was a really crazy story. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk about oversharing is because I've been so conflicted about something I wanted to share. And I was listening to the Christina Applegate podcast. It's called Messy. If you have a chance, Christina Applegate from Modern Family. Oh, what a beautiful, I love her. And I just love everything she's done. She's just great. And if you don't know, she has MS. So what a brilliant title for her podcast, Messy. And then the M and the first S are capitalized. So it's MS. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And she just started it, so you can catch up quick. But I was listening to it, and she was sharing about her story with MS and the struggles and how she feels about it and things. And it was very good. Shady Falco on. But I don't know. I'm so conflicted. But after listening to her podcast, I decided I feel like it's the right thing to do. And I don't know if this is oversharing. And if it is, just don't listen. Just stop right now. But I didn't tell you that I have terminal lung cancer. I don't know why that made me cry. It's not like they just told me today. But I was diagnosed in June of 2022. Now, backstory. So I was at work and we were going on this, we went to Nashville for a conference. And if I had to do anything over again in my life, I probably wouldn't have worked so hard, because I feel like I spent way too much time at work and not enough time, with my kids. Anyway, this is going to get funny, I promise. But anyway, so I'm in Nashville, I'm having a time of my life, and it's one of those like rah rah, shish kebab, we're having a great time, rah, yay, cheering on team spirit, all that stuff. And it was a new job, so I was really into it. And I love my Nashville. I've been there several times, and I love country music, and I love all music, but I just love Nashville. I actually got up and sang on a stage in Nashville twice. Second time, not so good. First time, roaring crowd. Oh, God, it was such a great experience. I'll tell that story in another podcast. But this is going back to my oversharing. And so if you don't want to hear about the lung cancer story, you don't have to. This is for me to tell you my story, but you don't have to listen to it. But anyway, so we're at this thing, and it's the very first morning, and we're in this meeting, and the person comes out. She's like, "Come on, everybody, good morning." It's like 7 a.m., but I mean, I'm there, and we're just starting the seminar. And she's like, "I want everybody to stand up and get some energy. Let me," one of those kind of great, I love those things. But she's getting us, I want you to jump up and down, and then I want you to do this. And me, I'm a nut. I go all in. So I'm jumping up and down, and I'm flailing my arms, and I'm doing everything she's telling us to do, And all of a sudden, I felt this, really bad, I thought, I pulled a muscle in my neck. I'm like, oh, boy. This is not good, because, again, I have told you, being in the dental field for as long as I have, in 30 of those years, I was a clinician bending over people, and, it takes a toll. It takes a toll on your spine and your neck. So that's what I thought it was. I was like, Now, the whole time I'm bragging to everybody. I've been to Nashville several times. I want to tell you where we're going to go. We're going to do this. We're going to eat here. We're going to, and everybody's all excited because, you've been here, and I love it, and it was exciting, So I really, then that muscle was really starting to bother me. So I'm rubbing my neck, and I'm trying to be, listening and attentive, but man, that just kept bothering me. And then I made it through the morning, and then we had lunch, but I wasn't hungry, which, I'm not feeling good if I'm not eating, because I love my food. But anyway, it was just bothering me, and I was like, does anybody have any Advil? I pulled a muscle when I was dancing. Nobody did, and I kind of didn't take it that seriously, because there's just something about, getting older, and plus being in dentistry for so long. Anybody that's been doing it that long has some sort of neck or back problems. It just, or hand problems like carpal tunnel, it's just, it is what it is. But anyway, so that's what happened. And then it got worse. So then I was like, I'm going to take the lunch time and not meet people, and all that. I'm going to just go lay down for a little bit. And so I Uber Eats from a drugstore. I got Advil, a heating pad, those Salonpas, the icy hot type stuff, all this stuff to get this muscle back on track, because it was really bothering me. Anyway, so that night they were all like, all right, where are we going? And I was like, I'm sorry guys, I'm in so much pain, I can't go out. I was really hurting. And then that lasted, and Sunday it was still the same, but I just overdosed on Advil. I kept taking the Advil, but anyway, so we flew home, and afterwards my husband had picked me up at the airport, and as we're driving home, and I'm telling him I'm in agony, my neck and shoulder, not good. I said, can we go to, there's a place I go to get a massage that's it's called Healing Touch. And it's just this Asian place that's just great, good massage. They use their elbows. They get up on the table. They actually have a bar on the ceiling where they walk on your back. I mean, I love this place. And every time I have back problems, I go there, and they just fix me right up. So I went there. And I had a massage, and he's like, all right, I'll come back and pick you up. It was real close to our house. Well, I got out. I was done. I was like, oh, that feels better. It definitely feels better. I feel the relief. And I got in the car. He was outside. I got in the car, and I sat down, and I was putting my seatbelt on, and I noticed my left arm was ballooning. It was just really growing, and my hands were swelling, and all of a sudden I couldn't see your knuckles, those little, it just, and I was like, so my husband, I'm like, my arm is swelling up. I don't understand what it is, but it's swelling up. And he's like, oh my gosh, and your neck is too. I look in the mirror in the car, and my neck is starting to I look like a bullfrog on one side. I was like, ooh, I think we should go to the hospital. Because in my mind, I probably, pulled the muscle so bad that I don't know what I thought, to be honest with you. I just knew that it wasn't good. It wasn't good. So as soon as I got into the hospital, I know what I thought it was. I thought it was cellulitis because I'd had a really bad ear infection for like 3 weeks before that. And I had been on vacation with my sister and one of my best friends, and I didn't enjoy that weekend either. Like, my ear was hurting, so I assumed it was some form of cellulitis, like maybe just, I don't know what it was. But anyway, I go into the emergency room and they take a look at me, and you know it's bad when they get you back right away. And I wasn't like in pain per se, like, I mean, my shoulder was hurting, but I was uncomfortable because, I'm not kidding you, my arm was unrecognizable. It didn't look human. It really didn't. It was just like, and then my neck, and thank God there wasn't a lot of mirrors around, but you can tell by people's facial expressions when they look at you, whether you look good or you look bad, and I could just see the nurse that was doing the triage was like, okay, and she's talking a little faster, and I'm like, all right, so I mean, I knew something was going on, but I figured it's probably cellulitis, and I even think I told her that, and I'm like, they're just going to give me an antibiotic, like something that's really going to kill everything, because I don't know, whatever, cellulitis can be very, 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 very dangerous. So, and it just kept growing and growing, and now my skin, like, it feels like it's going to explode, Well, they get me back, and they start an IV, and I forget what they put in the IV, but they got me right over to get a CAT scan to see what was going on. And they did a CAT scan on my neck and my chest. And they did give me morphine because the more it swelled, now I'm in pain, so I am not a happy camper. And my husband was with me the whole day, and I finally said, look, why don't you leave, go home with the kids? Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but at this point, had already admitted me. So I knew that, I'm going to be here for a while, so I'll keep you posted. And so I was in a room, and I happened to be sharing a room with a woman, and I wasn't happy about that because she was snoring, and I was irritable, and I couldn't sleep, but I was tired, and I was scared, and anyway, so, but I was by myself, and I'm trying to just, like, focus on, it's going to be cellulitis, and they're just going to give me antibiotic. And anyway, I remember the doctor. She was so sweet. Her name was Jacqueline, the traditional spelling of Jacqueline. And she comes in and she's like, hello. And the woman who was my roommate was the first one closest to the door, and then I was closest to the window. And she comes in and she's wheeling the computer, so I knew right away. And it's funny, I knew it was cancer. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. My mother died of lung cancer. My father died of lung cancer. But they were older. Like, I'm not old, so, and I was a previous smoker, so, I mean, it wasn't like a big shocker. So she said, oh, where'd your husband go? And I said, well, I sent him home. I mean, the kids and all, and I mean, not that the kids were, they were old enough, but I don't know. I was going to try to sleep, but the lady next to me that was snoring so loud. For such a little lady, my God, was she sawing wood. I mean, really, she's a tiny little thing, tiny lady, and she was, oy. But anyway, so I just knew it was cancer. I just knew it was. And she goes, well, you know what? How about we do this? How about you call him, and when he comes back, we'll go over everything. I said, nope. And she goes, no, I think it's a good idea. I said, I know you're going to tell me I have cancer. And she just looked at me like, really? Well, listen now. And she was so positive. What a hard job it is to be a doctor. Oh my gosh. Like, you have to tell people the worst things in their life. I don't remember her last name, but her first name was Jacqueline. Of course, I remember that. But she said, it's in your lung, in your right lung, and it's also in your neck, and it's closed off your internal jugular vein. So you're swollen because you're building up. Like, so my internal jugular vein wasn't working. It was completely closed because the cancer in my neck and in my chest, like, it's metastasized, so it was closing off the vein. So that was all like blood filling up. And I suppose the swelling may have started maybe internally when I was doing that crazy dance. I mean, I'm not blaming the dance. I mean, it just happened to be what triggered everything. I don't know. I must have moved a certain way, and the jugular vein was like, you know what? Enough of you, and just shut down. So they call that thrombosis. Word of the day, thrombosis. But anyway, so I looked at her and I said, I knew you were going to tell me I have cancer. And she just looked at me and she goes, well, now listen. And she was so positive. Oh, she goes, this is not a death sentence. This is not a death sentence. And she showed me, and, you know, even though was in the dental field for so long, I read x-rays and I've read CAT scans and, you know, things like that. And so I'm not a doctor, but, you know, I do understand, like, I think I have an eye for understanding the contrast and all. And she was very clear in her explanation, but, you know, they had to, you know, it was pretty sure it was cancer because it was spiculated. So, evidently this type of, tumor that is spiculated like that is, very predominantly, you know, a cancer thing. So anyway, but she's like, this is not a death sentence. We're going to get you to oncology. If I were to guess, I'm not an oncologist, but I would say you're probably in the 3 stage, which, you know, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to lose my hair and do chemo and do whatever anybody else has had to do who's had cancer. And I'll get through it, you know, and I have, like I told you, I have phenomenal family and friends, and boy, I never realized I knew I did, but like, you don't realize how lucky you are until something like that happens, because, I mean, my gosh, I had meals for months. I mean, people donated money, like, it was, you know, because I can't work, you know. But anyway, I just, you know, wanted to tell you that because for some reason I felt like I was withholding. And since I am an oversharer, I figured I'd tell you that. I do take a drug called Tagrisso, which has been a miracle drug. It is a targeted therapy, not immunotherapy, and it's not, well, it's like technically, I guess it's chemotherapy, but it's not infusion chemotherapy. But it's called Tagrisso, and that has, that shrunk my tumor from 17 millimeters down to 5 millimeters. And it kicks my ass. I mean, it does a toll on my body, but I didn't lose my hair. So, you know, you have to always look on the bright side, right? I mean, I shit my pants and I puke constantly, but I still have my hair. So I guess I have to count my blessings. But I feel like that's probably another strong. I always wanted to write a book way before I was diagnosed, because everybody tells me I should write a book because I have such crazy stories and funny things. But it's easier for me to do the podcast because I do have a lot of fatigue as well with that. But I have a great medical team at the University of Pennsylvania. Oh my word, they are amazing, and I have a great support system. And so, you know, I just want to let you know, I'm going to be okay. I mean, the PET scan showed that it was in my neck and in my lung and in my bone, your chest bone, called your sternum. But I didn't have to have infusion. So, like, you have to look at the bright side. Every cloud has a silver lining. I always say that. Every cloud has a silver lining. So I didn't lose my hair, which was good because, you know, and I don't believe that I never did regular chemo, but I have friends who have gone through it, and I see, you know, I'm sure you know somebody who's gone through it. It just riddles your body. It's horrible. So I'm grateful that I didn't have to do that yet. I mean, it may be an option in the future because the Tagrisso doesn't, you know, everybody's different, but it doesn't always last forever. The average person, it works for about 2.5 years. And June, I'll be coming up on being on it for 2 years. So I get scanned every 3 months. They do a CAT scan, and you know, I just deal with it. You know what the saddest part of this whole story is? So much for a comedy. No, this really is. I mean, this is so sad. Do you know that I got fired? Yeah. I was in the hospital for 10 days trying to get my arm back to normal human shape. And, they put me on blood thinners. I was on heparin. And then I also have type 2 diabetes. So my sugars were crazy because, all the stuff that goes on with that. So I was in the hospital for 10 days. So that, that was a lot. And then I got out of the hospital. The whole time I'm in contact with my employer. Listen, I have, this is the situation. And my husband, most of the time, just kept him abreast of everything. And he was like, no worries, just do what you need to do to get healthy. We're here to support you. He was so nice on the phone. And then I got out of the hospital, and it was less than a week later, the receptionist from the other office or whatever she was, I don't know what her title was. I mean, I think she was higher than that, but I don't know. I don't really know. She called me. Now, it's interesting because no one from that office called to check on me or texted me or sent me, I don't know, if you had a coworker that you found out had terminal, let's call it metastatic. I don't like to use the word terminal because we're all terminal, right? But metastatic cancer, which, it's pretty serious, right? And so, not one person except the boss. Now, he was not the dentist, but he was the boss of the practice. And just couldn't have been nicer through all those texts. And then this girl calls me, and the last time I saw her was when we were in Nashville. And she said, listen, how you doing? I said, I'm getting better every day. I'm getting stronger. I'm having a PET scan on Friday. They're going to let me know what my treatment's going to be. And in my mind, people can work and have chemo. I mean, I know everyone's different. Not everybody can, but I'm just thinking this will be fine. I have been a dental assistant since I was 14 years old. And, I told you 30 years, and now I'm in the management part of it, and corporate world, and I'm going to be fine. Well, she said, yeah, well, I said, so as soon as I get my PET scan and I know what my treatment's going to be, we'll figure out a schedule. I'll try to see, my optimistic mind, I was maybe I could do chemo in the mornings and then go into work after, or I didn't know. I was really just waiting for them to tell me what to do. She said, well, that's the thing. So we're going to have to let you go. What? What do you mean you have to let me go? We have to let you go. I mean, we can't afford to pay you. I said, I don't expect you to pay me, but you can't fire me. And she goes, I'm sorry, but, we need to replace you. We need to have, And you know what? I didn't cry when they told me I had metastatic cancer, but I cried my eyeballs out when I got fired from that job for having cancer. That's a kick in the head if there is one. Oh my gosh, I still just seethe when I think about it. And being in corporate world, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to fire somebody because they have cancer. Are you kidding me? Ugh. I don't want to get myself all worked up right now, but I'm telling you. So I just hung up the phone. After I hung up the phone with her, I'm bawling now. And I'm calling the boss. And I'm hysterical. I mean, inconsolably hysterical. And he's like, no, there must have been a miscommunication. No, we're not firing you. Not at all. No. We want you to focus on you and getting healthy. And once you're healthy, give us a call and we'll see what's available. I said, well, that sounds like you're firing me. No, it's not firing you. It's giving you the opportunity to take care of your, it was just such subterfuge. Aggravates me when I think about it because it was just such BS, And so fortunately, I had the wherewithal in all that shock to say, I need you to write me a letter and tell me, because he's literally telling me he's not firing me, but he's still firing me. In other words, once your cancer's gone, call us, and if there's anything available, we'll take you back. And you can't do that. I didn't ask to be paid while I was out. I wasn't expecting that, but I wasn't expecting to get cancer either. So, come on. Anyway, I'm sorry if that's an overshare, but I just wanted you to know. Thanks for listening. I'm going to be okay. I am.